Hey everyone, welcome to Achievement Through Attitude TV. I'm your host and attitude coach and hopefully attitude adjuster, Phil Stringer. This program is about getting your attitude adjusted. It's about getting your attitude right. It's about, and for some of you, it may be about finding an attitude that gets your motor running, it gets your heart pumping. It's about the power of attitude and how that incredible power of attitude can take you wherever it is that you want to go in life. And hopefully, and finally, I hope that this show motivates and inspires your attitude and attitudes to be amazing. Guys, today we're going to talk about an attitude of never surrender. I end that with every show about never surrender. And today we're really going to talk about it. You know, what do you do when you're down? What do you do when you think it can't get any worse for you, when you're hanging on by your fingertips? Do you roll over and die? Because most of us have probably had that feeling at one point or another. Or do you stand up and fight? Do you look that bully in the eye, which sometimes life can be, and say, I'm not going anywhere. You can't beat me. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to have absolute certainty in my faith, in my convictions. I'm going to pursue my dreams, my aspirations, my goals. I'm going to achieve because you can't stop me and I won't surrender. And guys, the lovely person that I have coming on the show today, some people call an angel. She's going to tell us about never surrendering. It's giving me goosebumps right now just thinking about her story. She was, as a teenager, a young teen, she was orphaned in Europe during World War II. She went to 2 different concentration camps. She escaped. She survived the trip to the United States through Ellis Island in 1949. And she is absolutely amazing. And after everything that she's been through and everything that she's seen, her goal today in life is to touch and to give back and to change as many lives as she can. And it's just, it's an incredible story. So guys, please strap your seatbelt on, sit back. She will reach in and grab your soul at the core and shake it. She'll shake the attitude. So please stay tuned to Achievement Through Attitude to get your attitude adjusted with Alexandria Good next on Achievement Through Attitude TV. Hey everyone, welcome back to Achievement Through Attitude TV. Today we're talking about an attitude of never surrender. And my guest knows all about that. Alexandria Good, thank you very much for coming to Achievement Through Attitude TV to tell us your story of never surrender.
Well, thank you, Phil. I'm looking forward to spending time with you and just sharing some of my thoughts.
Well, thank you. I wanted to get started with your life as a teenager in Europe.
Well, I was born in Yugoslavia. What used to be Yugoslavia is Bosnia now, Herzegovina and whatever. But my family originally came from Russia. They immigrated after the revolution. And at that time was King Alexander in power. My dad was in service for him.
Oh, so your father met him, right?
Yes, yes. And I was born in Sarajevo, actually. And we had wonderful memories of my childhood, which was very short-lived.
Right. Yeah,
very
right,
short-lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you had a twin brother, right?
I had a twin brother, and I had one older brother.
And now you went to. I know you were schooled at an all-girls school.
Yes, that's a tradition that they had Russian tradition where the girl goes for full 18 years, and she is taught to be very refined young lady with
which you are.
Which I don't know, but
yes,
no common sense about the life when she finishes up. She doesn't know how to cook. She doesn't know. She just grows up to be served, basically. It's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty funny. I didn't know that when I was
Yeah.
reading this. But now you, I know that you lost your mother at the age of 3 or 4.
Right.
She got sick.
She got sick with pneumonia, and she died. So I had we had a governess that took care of us because Dad never married again. He loved Mom, and he was quite a musician too. He used to play piano, and the violin was one of his instruments. And he would look at her portrait, and he would play to her. So my memories of Mom were really through my father.
Oh, well, that's nice. That was nice he was able to do that, because I know that he dropped you off at the train station, and
He dropped me off at school, actually, to begin with, when he took me to school. But then I made the trip back home during the summer, but then he took me again, and that was the last time I saw my dad.
now how old were you then?
About 11, I suppose.
11, last
10 or
time you
11.
saw your father.
About 10, 11.
So you're back at school, and now we've got to be on the brink of war over there with Hitler doing all his crazy stuff.
Right. He took over, he invaded Yugoslavia, and they loved the facility where our school was. So they wanted that facility, and so they sent all the children home that had home. At that point is when I found out that my home and all that was in it, my brother, my younger brother, my twin brother, and the governess and the servants, they were all leveled. There was nothing.
Nothing
Nothing.
left.
So they put me in a Russian orphanage in Belgrade. And so that's my life began as an orphan in that particular.
And then you at the orphanage there, you had there were nuns, right? That ran
Yes, because the monastery is being closed because
Okay.
the communism.
Okay.
Tito was raging through. And so the nuns had to have a place. So they came in, they worked with us. And it was a very interesting growing up with their care, yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. In the book, it said that the girls were interested in what the nuns wore under their...
Right.
Did you ever find out what it was?
I was the culprit for that. I was a child that was always interested in, I think was was known for getting in trouble. So I put a little hole in the screen that was surrounding the nuns' bed, and I stood there after when they were going to bed. I wanted to see what all they have under. And so I stood there at the hole, and of course she could see me because the light was shining. She called my name. Of course, I was very embarrassed, yeah.
But did you ever find out what was underneath there?
Nothing different. Nothing different than
Nothing, what we've got?
Yeah, nothing different.
So now you're at the orphanage, and now the war, it really takes hold.
Oh yeah, we used to go into the bombing. There was a lot of bombing coming on from American and British planes, and it was interesting because there was a German facility right close to us.
Right, like a headquarters.
Right, and they had trenches, and they would invite us to go in there and stay there during the bombing.
To protect you.
Yeah, yeah, they were very nice in that sense, and they felt sorry for all of us, the kids. So we would go there during the night. During the day, we would be called to go and dig out some bodies or people out of the ruins. You know, the bombing is just terrible. I mean, but as a child, it's interesting because you don't know what's coming, and you don't think in terms as adults.
No.
You don't worry about it, so you adjust a lot better than an adult would.
Right. Now, what happened? When did you go to the first camp?
Well, one night, they came to our rooms, told us to get dressed, not to take anything with us. They escorted us out into the trucks, open kind of, and then they took us to the train station.
And I read that the train station guys, nowadays I guess the best thing that you can look at is how if you see cattle being shipped, even by truck on the highway or by train, that's how you were treated.
Oh yeah, very. When they opened the train, where they opened the big cabin or whatever it is, where the cattle car, there was already a lot of people there, a lot of people, and so they just jammed us in there, And they separated us from the mom that took care of us. She went, they took her and a little bitty kids somewhere else. But several of us, older ones, teenagers, they threw it in there. And you could not sit down. It was just standing, it's like a sardines. And the train went. We didn't have any idea where it was going. And then periodically, 2 or 3 times, it did stop, open the doors, and they would throw the rotten potatoes on the ground. And
that's for food.
For food, people would go there, and they would yell, "Oh, you pigs! That's what you are, you're pigs." Intimidation.
And now you're 11 and 12 years old. They drop you off at the first camp.
Mm-hmm. It was terrible.
At this first camp, they had you dig the trenches for the dead bodies.
Exactly.
Or almost dead.
They took us in and they stripped us completely, all of our clothes. They shoved us in a big room where there were guards in the corner and they shaved our hair. Mm-hmm. And they turned cold water on us, and then they sprayed us with the DTT powder. Then they pointed us toward the corner of the room where there were some clothes on the ground to pick out anything to put on, overalls. And then we had a number. Jewish people had a tattoo, but we didn't. We had a number on them. And then they pointed us toward the barracks, where you had to find a place to lie down on a blank, just wooden bunks.
I've read the book, guys. There's a little book that her granddaughter had actually put together about her life, and I can't wrap my head around it. But we're going to take a break, mm-hmm. and when we come back, we're going to learn about the next camp that she was in, her escape, coming to the United States, and how she touches so many lives today. So please, stay tuned to Achievement Through Attitude TV to have your attitude adjusted. Hey everyone, welcome back to Achievement Through Attitude TV. We're here with Alexandria, and she is telling us about her attitude of never surrender during the Holocaust, during World War II. So let's get back to going to the second concentration camp that they sent you to, and that was it was at the Baltic Sea?
Yeah, it was Alan Rugen, actually, where they sent us in. It was primarily a work camp, slave camp.
Right.
We had to do a lot of work on the ship docks. We had to make bricks, build adobe housing. We had to work on farms. But the worst part of it is they did a lot of experiments on us. They injected us with various things, and we didn't know what. Like I had boils all over my body.
Yeah, you had boils. You got cold, sick.
Terrible. And one of the days, they took us in a room, strapped us to the chair, and they took the tonsils out without any anesthesia. So terrible. I don't know what there was. Horrible thing was the older girls were terribly abused. Sexually abused. So I was fortunate, but there were huge rats in the barracks that would come at nighttime, and they would eat on the bodies.
And I know that that you were laying in your bunk, and you basically asked God to say,
"Take my life."
Take my life.
I couldn't do it anymore.
But what happened instead?
The worst part of it was that I hated everything and everyone, and I knew that was eating away on me. And so I begged them to take my life, and I just couldn't take it any longer. I couldn't commit suicide, as some of them did.
Right.
They couldn't slash my wrists, as some of them did. So I went to sleep. Woke up when the whistle blew at 5 o'clock in the morning that we had to go and stand outside in the very cold weather, be assigned for the work. I found out my heart has changed.
Overnight?
Overnight. My heart has changed. I had a love for everyone that was around me, and they thought I'd lost my mind.
Right.
And so I encouraged the girls. After a while, time went by. Things didn't change. Work was still there, but I encouraged everyone that it will be better, that I just was very positive. So I encouraged them that maybe we should try to get out of the place.
And you did?
And we did.
and it was amazing. They were walking through the gate, and there was a guard there with a dog, and they walked right by. The guard didn't see him, and the dog didn't bark. So
Yeah.
you
You
however
can
you want to
surmise
think about
however
that.
you wanted to, but I do believe God protected us all the way.
Absolutely.
Went to the train that we were very familiar with because we worked there as
Mm-hmm.
well. Climbed into the cattle car and hid inside there.
Right. And then you made it to, she made it to liberated, it was Britain, British? A British
Yeah, it was
soldier?
Lubeck.
Lubeck.
I didn't know where it was. It stopped in a forest, actually. And when it stopped in a forest, one of the girls stuck her head out to see how long the train was and was shocked.
Right.
She said it was full of Germans. They were evacuating. We didn't know that.
Right, because that had already fallen.
They were already fallen. The Russians were advancing. So we followed, they jumped and ran into the forest, and one of the young men saw her and thought she was the only one there, and he begged her to get off the train, and so we did. We ran behind them. In a very short time after we were in the forest, the whole train exploded.
The train exploded. Well, I know then that you bounced around in there, and then you declared stateless. Is that the correct term, stateless?
Stateless, right.
Which eventually would lead you to the United States through
Right.
Ellis Island in 1949.
Right, right.
And once you got here, you were educated in Tennessee, and then you met your wonderful husband, George.
60 years ago in November would be.
Yeah, they'll be married 60 years
Right.
in November. This is the second couple that I've had on the show, 60 years out there, guys. So let's talk about what your passion is today.
Well, my passion has always been children. I just love the children, and I knew there were a lot of children that were orphans.
Right.
And being an orphan myself, I knew the heart of the orphan.
The heart of an orphan.
You're right. And so, being the fact that my family originally came from Russia, I decided that maybe this was the thing. I was 68 when we decided we were going to see what we can do to help the children. So I
Well,
went.
that's where the term came when I sat and talked with you and your husband about you refire, you don't
Right.
retire.
You
right?
don't retire, you refire, right? You do not retire, right? God has called us to do that, and I just consider that such a huge blessing, because we went to Russia. The thing that is amazing, Phil, for 40 years I did not speak the Russian language. But when I came to Russia and I hired a cab driver, God gave it back to me.
And so you could communicate and
I
help.
communicated with the people. They were so excited to meet someone that could speak Russian. You know, that was when the curtain fell down,
Right,
you know,
right.
and they were very open to meet the people. And we began to look at the children that needed help. The child that I really saw, one that they said he would crawl for the rest of his life on his belly. I said, no, he's not. We're going to find a way to help him.
Right.
And so we brought him here on a medical visa, and he at the Scottish Rite Hospital in Dallas. And then he was adopted, and he is now a young man living in Louisiana, doing great. But the whole ministry went to bring the children, especially those that are handicapped.
Right. You have a Project Hope, which is part of her outreach project for these orphans, where kids with medical disabilities, they bring over here and they help them, and they place them in homes, and they find families for them. And I know here in the Hilton Head area, you have placed with 6 or 7 families.
7 families.
7 families. And guys, at the end of the show, you know, hang on and watch the end of the show. We put a nice slideshow together with all of these lives that this wonderful lady has touched here in Hilton Head and all over, but here particularly.
Well, I have to say, Phil, you know what? Thank you so much for having us on this show, because truly I would encourage people to look at themselves every day in a mirror and say, God, what do you have for me today?
Right. Yep.
What can I make a difference in someone's life today?
Yep. Whose life can I touch today?
Whose life can I touch? And attitude does make a difference.
And it does.
It does make a difference.
And I want to thank you for your time and your thoughtful insights and coming on Achievement Through Attitude. It's meant a lot to me, and just the fact that I had the opportunity to meet you. My life is touched and changed forever. So thank you very much. And you have a safe trip back to Keller, Texas, right?
Keller, Texas, right.
And maybe next time when you're in, you can stop in and see us again and tell us what you're doing, because we know you're not going to retire, you're just going to refire.
We're going to refire, right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
All
Phil.
right, guys.
God bless you.
Thank you. Guys, remember, when your feet hit the floor in the morning, you have an opportunity to do something amazing, to be amazing, to touch someone's life, to never surrender. You'll never hang your head, and you'll never surrender. Guys, have a great week, and thank you very much for tuning in to Achievement Through Attitude TV.